You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
The amount of work you put in, you get to reap those financial benefits. So that's what I love about it. So yeah, my target is 220,000, but if I were to, kill my quota and sell more than expected, I can make even more than that.
Welcome to another episode of Tech is the New Black, your source for discovering experts in the technology space that are giving exclusive secrets and tips meant to help you break into tech, scale in this industry, and maybe even start your own billion-dollar tech company. Now look, y'all, have a really amazing guest today. One of the things I typically run into is that people are constantly asking me tech sales questions. People are like, Cyrus, how do you like working in tech sales? And spoiler alert, I actually don't work in tech sales. I've never worked in tech sales. But the reason why people tend to think that is, one, maybe because of my interview with Anthony O'Neill or others, or two, because my title is sales engineer. And so naturally people can conflate that and think that that's a tech sales role. But actually, I'm not in tech sales, but I work directly with those that are in tech sales. So y'all, the special prize that I have for y'all today, special treat, is our guest who actually is in tech sales. She's actually scaled in this industry, this space as well. She's full of knowledge, full of stories, full of experience that she's going to share with y'all today. So my guest today is Astrid. I'm going to read her bio for y'all. So Astrid is a 25-year-old Latina working in tech sales as an account executive and making six figures uncapped. Also known as Fintech Latina on social media, she creates content focused on career development, how to break into tech sales, salary negotiation tips, and financial education. You can find her taking a more personal approach on her page and documenting her own career journey as a young Latina professional working in the tech industry and striving to reach financial independence. Her hope is to help others learn from her successes and mistakes who wish to follow a similar path. Astrid, how you doing today?
I'm good. It's so great to see you again, Cyrus.
It is great to see you too. It's so cool because I think our only time seeing each other in person was on a triple date.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
A whole triple date. Exactly.
Yeah.
I met you along with, your friend and our partners, and that was a fun time. I hope we can do it again very soon.
Yeah, that was super fun. Actually, we just went recently to Illuminarium.
On the
just a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you go to that before? I know we talked about it.
I haven't been. I've been to a similar thing in Miami, which is really cool. So definitely check that one out. But it's really nice to see all like the artwork it was cool. Immersive experience.
Yeah.
So definitely
was super
would be
dope.
back.
So we definitely should do another triple date or something like that, or grab another couple, do a quadruple date, and go to Illuminarium. So let's jump straight into it, because these are the things that people want to know. So you're in tech sales, you're an account executive. So one of the things people want to know is, how much do you make?
Okay, we'll get right into it.
Yeah, you're like right into it.
So, no, I know I'm very open about my pay. I think pay transparency is super important, especially in tech sales. What I love about my job is that when you're in sales to make money.
Yeah, definitely.
So a company wants to hire you because you're going to
help them make money.
You're making them money. So they want someone who's hungry and who wants to, make a lot of money for themselves, because that usually equates to more sales in general.
Yeah.
So how much I make. So I like to start off straight out of college when I first started my role, because I've been in the same, I've been in tech sales since I left college. So initially, I started off making $90K, so a pretty high base actually.
Okay,
the 90K base and my
wow.
OTE, which is called an on-target earnings. So OTE is essentially your base pay plus your commissions, and that translates to OTE. So it's essentially like what you would make in a year if you were to achieve your quota at 100%.
Yeah.
So my base pay was $90K. I was in New York City, so it's a high cost of living city.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
Okay, yeah.
So definitely, they accounted for just how expensive everything is. So my base pay was $90K, and then my OT was $135K.
Okay.
So
that's
it's a
good.
really good amount
Good,
straight away.
especially starting out.
Yeah,
That's
starting out. I was
crazy.
going to say, and I tell people this because, again, it's truthful, but usually that's not the case. Normally, I think the OT is around 90K usually.
Yeah.
But it is very possible to make
when you started out at that, were you an account executive, or did you start out at
No,
SDR?
I was an SDR. So I actually did a
crazy.
6-month, my company had a 6-month training program before you joined a team, and then were the SDR for that team. So I was very lucky in that sense. So as an SDR, after the 6-month training program, I did 6 months as an SDR for my team.
Yeah.
And then I got promoted afterwards. I did really well for that team, and I got promoted. And then I became what's called an SMB account manager / I would say account executive, but more so I worked with small to medium-sized businesses. And my base pay ended up moving up to $95K. And then my OT was $171,000. So already after about a year, I was like, wow, like you can really make some money in
I want
this
to pause
job.
real quick because this is crazy. Like legit, not even just for the watchers and listeners, but even for myself. Like I'm learning a lot right now, because usually when people hit me up talking about SDR, BDR roles, I tell them, okay, well, starting out, you might be looking to make about 65 to 85K. And I've never heard of mind you, I'm not in tech sales, so I'm not even saying this is rare. I'm just saying that it's great to hear that, wow, you can make like really good money, SDR, BDR.
And again, that is not the norm, so you're right. But what I tell people though is that even if you're starting off making 65 to 85K, which is a great
that's still good
salary,
money. That's
good
still good
money,
money.
great money. The fact that you have the option to get promoted so quickly, again, 6 months to a year, that is what you should be focused on. Because I went from, let's just say I was making 85K, I still would have been promoted and got into the range of making the 170,000 OTE. So that's why I tell people that you have to think of, I don't want to say the long term, because it's not long term. It's 6 months to a year. But think of like, okay, that's my goal, is I want to make it to account exec after my initial role as an SDR. So I put in a lot of work as an SDR, got promoted. And then just recently, back in, I think April, seems like a long time ago, even though, this year has gone by so quickly. Now I'm making, my base pay is $144,000 and my OT is around, I think, 220,000. So
that's incredible.
Or plus, even more. So like I said, what I love about being in tech sales is that your pay is essentially uncapped. Like the amount of work you put in, you get to reap those financial benefits. So that's what I love about it. So yeah, my target is 220,000. But if I were to, kill my quota and sell more than expected, I can make even more than that.
Yeah.
So I tell people that I'm so grateful at my age, being 25 years old, to be able to make that kind of money. It's just amazing to me. So
one other thing that you just taught me. So usually when people ask me, hey, Cyrus, well, I don't really know that much about tech. Even if they do like some type of tech sales boot camp, they're afraid that they think, okay, well, what if I'm kind of thrown out there to the wolves? And I usually tell them, well, yeah, most tech companies, you're going to have, 2 to 3 months of training. But you said you had 6 months.
Yes.
So can you tell me, I guess in tech sales, is there usually a little bit more grace period or more training, or was that still unique with the company?
I think it was, in this situation, was very unique with the company. My company happens to do a program, so they'll hire you full time, but they kind of want to go like really train you. Okay, how do you have a discovery call? How do you learn about the products that you will be selling before they throw you to the wolves, so to speak? But I know that there's a lot of companies that still train you, maybe take a month to do that as they transition you to, be put in front of customers. What I tell people is that if you work in tech sales, you want to take the initiative to prepare yourself for it. So some of the things I recommend is look into any educational materials that your work offers. So your company, they want you to sell their product, but they can't just make you sell a product. You have no idea what the product does,
Exactly,
So a lot of companies such as mine offer their sellers, like, here's some training on the different products that we sell so that you're prepared to, to discuss them with customers. And some of them includes like, okay, here are common objectives you might hear. Here's our good case studies we have that you could present to your clients of like, we've done this before with the product and how we've helped other clients similar to yours. So I really focus on, learning about training yourself. Another thing is finding mentors within your company. I think if you find mentors that you can shadow and maybe ask, hey, can I join your calls and sit in the back and listen to how you handle your calls and your conversations with the customer? That can help me. I used to do that. I would say, hey, can I join your call and, just sit in the back and see,
how would they, have you ever asked someone to, have you ever asked a shadow? Because there are a lot of people that are like, okay, they hear this, they're like, okay, it sounds simple. They're like, but what if they tell me no? Or what if I'm bugging them? What if I'm nagging them?
So that in that situation, I personally have never had someone say no. I think when you're on a team, your team, yes, you each have your own territory, so a list of accounts where you're selling into, and it seems like, okay, everybody's out there for themselves. But at the same time, the fact that there's not really overlap, the team just wants you to do well. Everybody wants you to grow together, because again, if your company makes more money, then the pay is probably going to be greater for everybody. I've personally, maybe I tend to gravitate towards coworkers and colleagues where I know that, they want to help me. But yes, find people you trust and ask them like, hey, I want to be part of this conversation. And what I tend to do is when I join those calls, if I hear something that I like that they say, like a certain question, I'm like, wow, I never thought to ask that, but this opens the gateway to a lot, like, very interesting conversation from the customer, then I'll write it down so that I can use it for my calls later. I'm not a person who reinvents the wheel. I don't like to do that. I take what works for me and I apply it to my own, personal situation. So that's been my focus, and it's been really helpful for me. Another recommendation I have to get promoted quickly or to, really do well in an SDR role, I would say is be willing to ask a lot of questions and just be very focused on, be resilient in a sense. So when you're an SDR, you're going to be reaching out to a lot of net new customers, people that have never talked to your company before. And you'll hear a lot of rejection, or you just won't hear anything. And so what has
when you mean not hear anything, you mean like them not responding?
Yeah, them not responding. So you reach out on email or you call and nobody picks up, and it could be heartbreaking because you're like, well, I need you to pick up because I'm trying to get the business. I need someone to talk to. And I think the key is being resilient and realizing, okay, I have to just keep doing my best. I have to find creative ways to reach out, and I just have to keep, have a plan in place. How many touch points am I going to have for a specific customer? What exactly, maybe there's a certain emailing outline that I can create where, I can customize it to each prospect, but at the same time, it saves me time on, reaching out. So little things like that have been super helpful for me, and I give that advice to all new SDRs, working in tech sales, especially if they want to get promoted quickly.
Yeah, so you've been an SDR, and for clarity, SDR and BDR is the same thing. It's just
similar.
Different titles.
Yeah, every company has slightly different titles. I mean, even an account exec. Sometimes they'll call you a solutions consultant at times, or maybe a sales. Like there's different names. So it just depends on your company.
Yeah.
But I think the traditional naming would be SDR/BDR, and then you move up to account exec.
Okay, so you've done that, and also you've been an account executive, and you've kind of been like an in-between type of account executive as well. What is the difference? Like, okay, you get promoted, so we know account executive, generally you're going to make more money. Mm-hmm. But apart from making more money, what is the difference in terms of roles?
Between an SDR and an account exec?
Yes.
So an account exec, essentially, like in my job, you're in charge of managing, for the most part, the end-to-end sales cycle of deals you're trying to close, and maintaining the relationship with the client. So, and you work closely with SDRs, and they essentially go out there and they're prospecting and they're trying to acquire new customers. So what an SDR does is they have a set list of accounts, and maybe an area of like, okay, we're looking to sell to businesses within a specific area, maybe a specific state. So you reach out to potential customers that fit that criteria, and you have what's called a discovery call with them. So a discovery call is basically a beginning conversation where you figure out, you qualify the lead. You figure out, okay, is this a customer who will buy from us? Like, will our product that we're trying to sell solve the particular pain points and needs that they're trying to solve? And are they likely to buy it? Like, do they have the budget in place to buy from us? So you ask those questions and you essentially qualify, okay, this could be a potential customer who will buy from us, and we can sign a deal with them. So then after that initial discovery call, once you've qualified the lead, then you pass that on, that lead on to the account executive you're working on. And from there, then they take that information, and then they call up the prospect again, and then they start continuing with the conversations and really building out, okay, what is the problem you're trying to solve? How maybe we can do a POC to see how our technology.
Do you work with so obviously I'm a sales engineer, and my side of it is that depending on the company, I might be at one company where the sales engineer might be a part of the discovery to some degree. But then I've also worked, like my first company, Dialpad. No, I was never a part of any discovery. Yeah. Literally, all I did was
you were brought in for the demos.
A demo. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
So, as an account executive, have you been a part of demo? Like, have you looped in sales engineers?
So it's funny, in my particular role right now, I've been involved with end-to-end. I've been the person actually doing the discovery call as well. So I do work with SDRs, but at the same time, I pretty much manage the whole relationship with the client or new prospects. And I'll loop in sales engineers to do the demo when necessary. And I'll be on the call, of course, and help facilitate those conversations. But for me, I think it really just depends on the company you work for. But I kind of like being managed. Maybe I'm a little bit of a control freak, but I like managing the whole relationship. Yeah. And then I bring in the right people that I need to in order to, again, drive that sale to make sure that it closes. So that's the responsibility I take on. And again, what I love about tech sales too is you work with so many different people. Not only are you talking to clients and different businesses day to day, but again, internally you're working with so many different groups. You're working with your sales engineers to help, do demos and proof of concepts. You're working with the SDRs to help, again, qualify leads. You're working with product managers, because product managers are in charge of, making sure certain features of a product are there. And then you're kind of an extension of that, because then you take that and then you sell that. You sell the product and you're trying to sell that dream and idea too. And maybe product managers are not super happy with sellers, because we might come back and be like, hey, the customers say this doesn't, they want to have this feature and we don't have it
and
yet.
They're like, that's not on the roadmap.
The roadmap. Exactly. You always hear, essentially there's this roadmap where product managers, for a product, they'll release certain features based on customer need.
That's slated to come out in Q3
and then you'll have sellers like, hey, I'm trying to close this deal, like they'll buy right away if this feature's available, so can we get that done? So little things like that. But again, having those, I work with customer success managers, which is more of a post-sales support role, but they also they're incentivized as well to work with me, because for instance, if I already have I have a mix of both net new customers and established customers. So if I already have an established customer, my goal is to get them to buy more from us, to grow on, let's just say, our cloud. Right now, I currently sell my company's cloud services, so to help them grow on our cloud so that we can bring in more revenue. So I work closely with them because they're also incentivized to have the revenue grow as well as a post-sales support team, essentially. So little things like that, I love the relationships that I get to build both internally and externally from my company.
Yeah, that's super cool. So, all right, so you are a woman of color in tech, and as we know, the tech space, they're majority men and majority, even when it comes to women not being women of color. But also we look at like sales in general. Like the majority of people that tend to go towards sales usually are men, or the majority of people that are in sales are men.
Especially in tech too.
Yeah,
tech
and that's what I'm saying. You merge it together, like you're in tech sales. You're literally in a hybrid where each of those industries by themselves are more saturated with men, but then you're like in a hybrid that now kind of compounds that. So how do you navigate as a Latin woman, as a woman of color? How do you navigate in tech sales? And I guess, what are some of the pros and cons you see of yourself being in this space?
Yeah, so it's a lot, and it's so funny. I think growing up, I've always loved to be in spaces where, if somebody, not that anybody has directly said you can't do this, but if I'm in feel like, okay, I need to break some glass ceiling, I want to break that glass ceiling. I want to, do better. So it's funny, even in college, I studied electrical engineering, and you'll come to hear that in engineers, I think females, I don't know the exact percentages, but it's very low. And I mean, nowadays, I think now a lot of more women are pursuing STEM, which is so great to see. But even in working in tech sales, a lot of times when I join conversations with customers, I am probably usually the only woman in that, on the call, the only woman of color, and I'm usually the youngest. To be honest, a lot of my colleagues tend to be older, and it seems like a hidden secret of people, young people working in tech sales. So
how like we had someone on who she's 42. People ask us all the time, and I want to stop here.
What the age range?
Yeah, like people are like, well, people ask, oh, am I too young? And then other people are like, oh, I'm too old. So we've had someone on who's 42, and we have a guest who's coming on later, and or we have a guest who's coming, and I think he's around 50. He might be a little over 50. So we've got that covered. But like, how young are you as an account executive in tech sales, making over $200K?
So there's a lot of young professionals in tech sales, but I think, again, I am probably, like most of my colleagues, I am the next, again, I don't know the particular ages, but I think my next colleague is around, I think is 20 years older than me, to be honest. So I work with a lot of people who I honestly see, they kind of treat me like a daughter, my coworkers, because I'm like the youngest on the team. But I think that I take such pride on that. So you talk about the pros and cons. And so it can be intimidating. And I'm like, oh, wow, I am having conversations when I talk with clients, I am talking to like C-suite level people, the CEOs, the CSOs, like of big companies. And I'm helping influence their decisions and recommending technology to them. And I'm amazing. Like, that is, so when I think about it, it's intimidating, but then I think about, wow, like how many people at my age can say that? And so I take pride of that. And it kind of ties into imposter syndrome. I know we all feel it, whether you're, a person of color, whether you're a male, female, black, blue, white, whatever it is, a lot of people tend to feel imposter syndrome. And I think what helps me combat that is, first, I focus on the facts. What have I done in my job that has gotten me to where I am today? And I always keep a list of accomplishments on the side that I've done to help me with like salary negotiations and stuff like that. But also just to remind myself, like, hey, these are the facts. I've closed XYZ, deals. I've brought in this much revenue. I've positively impacted my team in this way. So I use that to remind myself, like, I am where I'm supposed to be. And a lot of times too, I think about, especially people working in tech sales, think about it. And you've been hired by your company to literally represent them. Like they've hired you as a salesperson to talk to other businesses and represent them as a company to sell their products.
Yeah.
So they must have a lot of faith in you
Yeah.
to do that. Like,
Yeah.
because you're not just working internally and, you know,
Yeah,
doing another
they want
job.
you to customer facing.
You're customer facing. And that, to me, again, at being 25 so young, I'm like, wow, like that fills me with so much pride, and I take that with me, and I remind myself every day. I'm like, they must see something in me.
Especially the notion that you went through 4 or 5 rounds of interviews.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wasn't that, oh, someone might have made a mistake and hired you on. It's like you went through rounds with different people where they all agreed and said, hey, we want this person at our company representing us.
Exactly.
So it's not a hiccup.
Exactly.
Or a mistake
It's not a mistake. So I always try to flip it on the positive, and I think of I remind myself of that. Another thing, again, adding to being a woman of color. So you don't. I put a fact out the other day that only 2% of Latinas in particular are in the tech industry.
Whoa.
And so that, to me, that is a very sad percentage to hear. But I want to be, I know for me, when I see people similar to me, if I see a strong Latina woman in a position of power, it inspires me to want to get to that same position, to want to work towards that. So that's kind of been my goal, is I want to help break into those spaces and show other Latinas or just other people of color, like, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too, and let's do it together, because there is a seat at a table for everyone.
That's true. Those are straight up facts. There was a recent you shared this with me recently, and correct me if I get this wrong, but that they're like Latin women are actually the least paid demographic.
Last year I read an article where Latina women are the most underpaid working demographic in the US.
Wow.
So they make, I think the statistic is they make 57 cents to the dollar to every dollar that a white male makes.
Yeah.
So you hear those comparisons, you'll see like 70 cents to a dollar. So, but the fact that they're the lowest paid working demographic, I was like, that's a neat, again, being Latino, but on top of that, being a woman, a Latina, it just opened my eyes, and I was like, wow. Especially coming from a low income background, I didn't grow up with much money, so I take pride in the fact that I'm making good money now at my young age, at such a young age, and I just want to keep working towards that. I remember when I first got my job offer, it was crazy to me because I was going to make more than my parents combined.
Wow.
At the time.
Do your parents know that?
No, they knew that. They're so proud of me. And it opened my eyes. I was like, wow. But the reason why I was able to get such a good salary starting off, because I was a priority of mine. I kind of focused on that is because when I was doing engineering, I went to a really good college. I went to Princeton University. So again, the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Ivy League school, really good. And the reason why I say that is because when I was going there, graduating from college, my fellow colleagues, they were looking for jobs in like software engineering or investment banking, and they were getting offers for 6 figures easily. So I was like, if they're out of college with no experience, are making $100K off the bat. I know with software engineering, you code, so you tend to make more. That's more a skill that's more in demand. But still, if they were going to make 6 figures off the bat, then why can't I do that?
Yeah.
So I was very focused on, hey, let me get as close to 6 figures as possible. And again, not if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But at the same time, the fact that you put that in my sphere of influence, that's something I'm going to work towards. So I credit that a bit to why I did end up getting an offer for 6 figures, because I was so focused on negotiating for that and working towards that. So that's why I'm very, again, going back to the pay, I'm very open about pay, because we tend to limit ourselves if we don't know what's out there.
That's very true. So going to negotiation, like what are some either experiences you've had with negotiation, and maybe even like advice or tips with negotiating?
So salary negotiation. So again, I've been promoted twice in 2.5 years, which is really, I'm very proud of that. And I think that's really good, starting off. You've been at the same company. So you've got broken tech, you're in tech, and it's funny because a lot of people, I'm not against job hopping by all means, job hop, because that you tend to get a better salary if you job hop. But I like to share my story because it shows like you don't need to job hop necessarily to, you know, get an increase in your salary. So I've been able to increase my base pay, not my commissions, but my base pay by more than 60%. So that's kind of like
wild.
And that's why I want to share, okay, here's what's worked for me. So going back to your question, so tips for salary negotiation. So I have 4 to 5 steps that I tell people to follow in piece of advice. So the first
Pull out your notepads.
Yes.
Pull out your notepads.
So the first thing, right, as I alluded to before, write down your accomplishments. So create a Google Doc, create whatever you want. If you want to handwrite it, have a list of all your accomplishments and things you've contributed to your job. So whether that's, you know, I've closed this deal, I've been able to bring in this much revenue, I helped, you know, my teammates do this. I've created like email prospecting scripts for my team. Yeah. Anything that you've seen has made a positive impact to your team, write it down. And the reason why you want to write it down is because you can, when end of the year reviews come or whenever your reviews come, you can leverage that list to back up, you know, your ask for a raise. Yeah. Or a promotion. So that's the number one thing I always recommend. The second thing is have a good relationship with your manager. Now, there's a lot of people that will say, well, I don't like my manager, or, you know, I don't want to talk to him, I'm hands off. But believe it or not, the past 2 times I've gotten promoted, I haven't had to really actually back up my ask as much because my manager has seen the hard work I put in based on the relationship we had. When we have those one-on-ones, I'm very transparent. Okay, this is the work I'm putting in. This is how much, you know, what I'm doing to try to close this deal. And that communication, I think, is something my manager appreciates. And I also tell people this: your manager wants you to do well. Yeah, they do. The reason why is because it reflects well on them. It makes them look really good. If they have people under them that are killing it, like especially in sales, if your team is making money, they're going to be making a lot of money, and it looks well on them. So they want to keep you happy, essentially. I mean, that sounds weird, but like they want to make sure that you are happy. So that is something I tell people to focus on too. The third thing would be start the conversations early about your promotion. So my very first manager actually told me, a mentor of mine, he said, if you want to get a raise by the end of the year, you need to talk at the beginning of the year with your manager that, hey, I am looking for a raise and by this much, and have that on, like, open and honest conversation with them and say, what do I need to do to get that raise? Yeah. So you ask them for specific goals and accomplishments that you need to achieve by the time so that you can get the raise.
You know, it's crazy like that you say that, because my first company that I was at, I brought up a raise and I wasn't asking for it at the moment, but I just brought it up. Yeah. And when I brought it up, the person I was speaking to, he was very, very, very high up. He was like over the entire department. When I just brought it up, he was kind of like, Cyrus, nah, man, nah, buddy, we're far, far away before we're talking about giving you a raise. And I was like, oh no, I said I'm not asking for one right now. I said I just wanted to know like what's a timeline. Yeah. But it was interesting that I brought it up to him and just dropping that seed. You know, we laughed about it after that, but just dropping that seed. Not even 2 months later, I brought it up again just to know, like, hey, like, what's timeline looking like? And I let him know, honestly. I said, hey, a company is sending me an offer letter. Yeah. I said, I don't want to take it. I said, but I'm just wanting to know, like, hey, what does that look like? Yeah. And he immediately was like, yeah, Cyrus, you brought up a raise before. Yeah. He said he couldn't remember exactly when. You know, he was doing a lot, but he was like, okay, I know it was a few months ago you brought it up. He was like, it's been a little bit of time. You've been killing it. He said, yeah, let's look at a raise. He was like, you know, let's talk numbers. Like, what do you want? And he jumped at it so quickly, and I could tell it was because I had planted that seed before. Yes, exactly. Where when I planted the seed, and then some time went by, so when the talks of a raise came up again, he was like, yeah, like you brought it up before, and you've been killing it since then. So yeah, let's talk about it.
And like I said, when you have that conversation, bringing up early, it's not only planting the seed, but asking them, tell me specific goals that I need to accomplish. Yes. And the reason why I reiterate that is because that puts the onus on them, so to speak, to tell you, okay, what exactly do they need to see in order for you to qualify for that raise? Yeah. And then so when that time comes and you've done all those things, you know, it's more of a chance that they not that they have to give you the raise, but you're more likely will be able to get
definitely.
it from that.
You checked off those boxes.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
now at that point, if you don't get the raise, they know it makes them look dishonest.
Exactly. And the last advice I give is, it's kind of cheesy, but it's so true, is be confident and know your worth. Yeah. A lot of the times we leave money on the table, kind of like what you said, simply because we don't ask. And the best example I can give was, I remember at the beginning of the year, my company, they move us around a lot. So I've been on several different teams. So I was with one manager, my new manager. He had never seen me work, but I brought up to him, I was like, hey, I would love to get a promotion. And he basically was like, you just got one like 10 months ago. So sorry, like not yet, kind of like similar to you. And so I ended up switching teams, and then my new manager, again, my company was giving raises because our performance was good overall as a company. But I knew the raises max were going to be, I think, 5%.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to try to get that. I was like, you know what? I was denied the promotion from my other manager, 5%. But I'm like, wait a minute. Something in me was telling me, I'm like, let me ask this new manager that I have for a promotion. And so I asked him, and I've actually worked with him before, so he did know my work ethic. He knew I was a good hard worker, hard seller, and he gave me the promotion, no questions asked. And that ended up turning into a 26% increase in my base pay versus the 5% that I would have gotten if I hadn't asked for the promotion. So
that's why, again,
that last tip of just being confident and knowing your worth is nobody's going to give you, you don't get the opportunities that you don't ask for. Yeah. And you need to be confident in the hard work that you put in, and you oversee your own career. And I always tell people that, like, that's both a beautiful and scary thing to realize, because you're like, okay, I'm in charge of my own career. Only me is going to care about me. So I have to make sure that I look out for myself, and I'm confident in the hard work that I put in. So
that's good. 26%. That is insane. And so you've been in tech for 2.5 years. Man, you're already at over 200K.
Yeah.
That is what, and what's blowing my mind about this. So first off, like we know each other, but I didn't know you're like making that much. Yeah. And it's really crazy because when people ask me about tech sales, again, I only tell them what I know. Yeah, exactly. And I'm the kind of person, I try to keep numbers and things more modest, so I don't oversell things.
Yeah, exactly.
But usually I tell people like, 65 to 85 as a SDR BDR. Never thought someone could be SDR BDR making over 100,000. So I'm like, okay, that's crazy. But then two, when people are like, okay, I'm trying to get $100,000 within my first year, I usually, and I know it's very possible, but I don't, whenever I'm talking to people, I don't know everyone individually. I don't know how you're going to network. I don't know your work ethic.
It depends on the company too.
That's another huge factor.
Where you live. Again, I was in New York City, so a high cost of living scene, companies tend to pay higher base salaries. But the reason why I tell people that is, again, it might not be realistic initially, but the fact that that's possible,
you'll
get there. Yeah. So because if you tell someone, like, some people will think, okay, 65K, it's a great salary, especially now. I don't know what the average pay is, but a lot of people aren't, they're not making that money. So if someone can make 65K, especially growing up, I know my parents weren't making anywhere near that. That to me, I've been like, oh, I'm that's awesome. But the fact that I surrounded myself with people who were making six figures straight out of college, or doing specific types of roles. It doesn't even have to be someone who's gone to college, but doing like a boot camp or anywhere, just any type of job where like that's possible. Then to me, that should be your motivation. Okay, like, I can also do that as well.
I see a lot of people, oftentimes, one of the things I see with people who are hesitant about taking an SDR, BDR role is that they're saying, oh, I already make 90,000. It looks like if I do this thing, I might have to go to 70,000. But one of the things I say to them is like, okay, if you stay at your particular career, it's like, how long is it going to take you to make 110,000, 120,000? It's going to take you 5-6 years. It's like, if you take a step back from a year max, you are going to scale beyond that. Like, and again, really fast.
How many jobs can you say your pay is virtually uncapped? I mean, some companies might, pass a certain amount. They'll be like, yeah, okay, we're not being. But essentially, for instance, I have a coworker of mine. does the exact same thing as me, same role. We sell, we're on the same team. He made last year over $500,000 in commissions alone. And again, his OT might be a little higher than mine, but in general, not that much. It's not like his OT is $500K, but because he killed it in, in selling and overachieving on his quota, he earned $500,000 in 1 year. And I'm like, wow, how many positions where I can say someone who's not more senior than me, he does the exact same thing as me. Therefore, I can do that too if I have a really good year. So that's something now I have that in my mind, and I'm working towards that. Hopefully next year. Hopefully next year.
You're definitely gonna be there. Let me know. We'll pop some bottles when you hit that $500,000 mark. So apart from working in tech, being in tech sales, you also are you're an influencer. You're a social media influencer or tech influencer. So what does that look like? Like, what does that look like, and how do you define like navigating that?
So I have Instagram and social media, TikTok as well, called, my brand is FinTech Latina. So
that's a cool brand.
Thank you. So before I was working more in the FinTech space, but like I said, my company moves around a lot. So I kind of has a dual meaning. So fin as in like finance, when I talk about like my personal finances and what I've learned along that way, and also tech, being in tech sales, and also again being in the tech space with like cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, and just everything coming out about new technology. Virtual reality, I think, is really cool as well. I like to talk about that on my page. So my page, again, as you mentioned earlier, is about sharing my personal journey towards financial freedom and how I navigate my career in the tech industry, specifically tech sales. And I want to share with people what has worked for me and how I've gotten to where I am, whether that's through, my career, like asking for raises and promotions. Because I'm a big believer that one of the ways you can retire early on not early, but you can earn financial freedom on any salary. But I'm a big believer that one of the quicker way to do that is by raising your income. Yes. So for me, that's why my career is so important, because I'm trying to raise my income so that I, have the option to save and invest my money so that I can eventually retire early, or, choose what I want to do. I have more financial freedom. So that's what my page is about, is sharing those experiences. And I tell people too, my page is for everybody, everyone out there, male, female, young, old. But I tend to focus particularly on women and especially the Latino community, because my community, I always think it's not that we don't want to do better for ourselves. It's more so that you don't know what you don't know. That's what I think about. So now I want to share my journey and what I've learned there along the way, because I think it's a lot of not having access to the right resources to educate yourself. So I want to share what I've learned and provide that information to my community or anybody out there who wants to follow a similar path. And that's essentially what my page is. And again, being a tech influencer too, I love just talking with people about being in tech sales. Like, I wish it was a career more talked about. Like, even coming from Princeton, that was not really talked about. And I mention that a lot because the jobs that they kind of promoted was being in investment banking, being in consulting, being in software engineering, great jobs. But tech sales, I'm like, wow, it's incredible. Yeah, this is a job where at such a young age, you could, like you said, scale up so quickly. Money. And and the skills you learn as a salesperson, I realized, like, you learn relationship building, how to network, how to organize, manage your time, how to handle objections. All these skills are so.
And you're not micromanaged, so you have to learn how.
It's like running your own business,
self-starter. Yes, and it's like those are skills and assets that'll be just
translate
invaluable.
To anything. I was gonna say if I wanted to start I'm not saying I would be great at my own business, but let's say I wanted a startup idea. I feel like I've been prepared enough, or I'm learning a lot of these skills that will translate well into doing that, or to translate well into other jobs. So that's why I think I want to promote tech sales as a great job for people to look into and how to break into it, because it does seem so elusive when you first, again, even coming from a highly qualified like network.
Do you deal with on your platform? Do you deal with people who obviously it's their first time hearing about tech sales, which is so mind blowing to me now. Even though I never heard about tech sales until 2 years ago, but it's so mind blowing. It's like, yo, like this industry, you're making so much money, and it's in such demand. It's not like it's a rare, like, oh, there's not in demand.
No, and I
it's
tell people, I'm like, the reason why everyone gets paid is because sellers are selling the company's money. That's how the company's making money. And it's not to like, inflate my ego in any way, but my point is take pride. Like if you want to work in sales, tech sales, like take pride in your job and don't let imposter syndrome get in the way from you, doing well and excelling in it.
Do you run into people that think it's cap? Like where you're mentioning, oh, tech sales and this is great, and because it's people maybe first time hearing about it, there's like, no, this is a lie. There's no way. There's no way you could be making that much. There's no way this
I
industry
do,
is
and
all that.
I hear that a lot, and that's why again my page I really liked. I'm very transparent with my commission checks, with my pay, the breakdown. I recently did a post on how sellers are paid. For instance, we talked about OTE. So if if you hit your sales targets, then you'll get, base pay plus commissions, you'll hit your OT, which could be, let's say, 200,000. But if you overachieve, then you get into what's called accelerators. So companies, they incentivize you to sell even
to
more.
Where you can earn
double, or I think my company right now, they give you 2.5 times. So for every extra dollar you sell over your quota, you'll get $2.5 more.
That's crazy. So
that's where the real money comes in.
People are so quick to work at, I guess, general companies to try to work overtime because they're like, oh, I'm going to get a time and a half.
Time and a half.
But it's like you're giving up your time.
Yeah.
Like a lot of your time for that
the
money.
The pay to effort ratio is not there.
Versus being in tech sales where you're not giving up more time. You're just working harder, maybe working smarter. Maybe you're shadowing some calls. You're learning a few tips of the trade. And now you're working harder in that same amount of time. By working harder, you're sitting in a chair on virtual calls usually, but you're working harder. But you can make 2.5 times as
it's crazy money.
Wild.
And a lot of people say too, they're like, well, if I work in tech sales, like what if I like how secure is that job? Like what is the job stability of that? Especially right now with all the talks of the economic downturns and the tech industry, maybe layoffs. But I tell people, I'm like, just based off what I've seen, tech sales is one of the most secure jobs you can have.
Yes. And
here's my reason why. So when I talk to customers, I am building relationship with those companies. I am learning about the product. I am talking again to people in the C-suite, they're the decision makers. And when I, recommend certain technology for them to use, and I have a lot of coworkers too, that have actually, because of such a great relationship they formed with their clients, they've gone on to work for their clients.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
And actually my company even loves if that happens, because then it establishes even a deeper relationship with the other company.
That's true.
And a lot of, again, networking and building those relationships is so key. I always tell people when it comes to networking again is about building relationship. It's not about making contacts. You're not just trying to like, okay, I know this person. It's like really cultivating a relationship so that they trust you. You become a trusted advisor to them. So, and again, it's particularly working in tech sales, when you're in the tech industry, this is like the industry for innovation. You are learning so much about different products and technology out there. It's so funny. I recently closed a deal with a customer, and it was like a full circle moment because I was trying to log on. They're actually in the financial services space. And I was trying to log on to my PayPal to connect my bank with something. And I saw that PayPal uses that customer for the integration.
Oh, okay.
So to understand the technology behind it and how they're leveraging, like, for instance, our cloud services to help, with their application, I'm like, wow, that is so neat to be able to influence the decisions of real products that I see day to day.
Yeah, that is super cool. Oh, man. So this is good. I know this is good because people have always asked me, like, Cyrus, can you interview someone who's in tech sales? Bring someone on who's in tech sales. It happens a lot. So this is super cool. So have a last couple questions and we have to wrap up. So there are people in tech sales who are like you mentioned, you got coworkers that are making $500,000. I have a guy who just messaged me, or not messaged me, he commented on my Instagram recently, and he was like, hey, I'm in tech sales. I make $800,000 a year. He mentioned, he referenced how much I make, or how much, like, on my social media it says I make.
Yeah.
And he wasn't trying to throw shots. He was just letting
he's
people
like,
know.
yep, it's possible.
He said, look, he said, if I made as much as Cyrus says he's making, that would be a bad year for me. He was like, so
I need to get to that level.
So he's referencing
exactly.
this. So it's like, okay, in this space, you can, you're networking with CEOs, C-suite execs, and also you are, I mean, it's almost limitless in terms of how much money you can make. But I want to know, like, with you being a influencer, but also you working in this space, like, what's next for you? Like, what are your plans or your goals?
What are my plans? So it's funny. Another reason why I love my job is that you can basically stay in the same position. You don't need to be like a manager or work your way up to keep your earning, to keep increasing your earning, growing your earning potential. So right now, I currently love what I do. Not a lot of people I feel like can say that with their job, but I love the fact that every day it's something new. Every day it's talking to a new type of customer and handling any objections that they may have. Because when there's, let's say, conflict in a conversation, I always see that as opportunity. Okay, let me figure out a way how to solve this, and that's and then I can use that later on for another conversation if I encounter a similar thing. So for me, I'm really focused on, again, increasing my earning potential, hitting that $500K maybe next year in commissions, and then on the side with my Instagram is just making this information more accessible to people, just really continuing growing my reach, and again, especially to other Latinas out there, women of color. I want to show that, hey, like, you can break into this space as well. I always say this: there's a seat at the table for everybody. I'm a big believer of, like, when I see someone else doing well, we should celebrate that. Yes. And I don't know why there's always, I feel like sometimes with women too, we tend to compete with each other because we feel like, oh, there's not enough space for all of us, so we have to compete. But no, it's like we should celebrate each other's achievements and continue uplifting each other and realize, hey, if I can do it, you can do it as well. And so I want to be that. And the beauty of that is,
with you being in this space and you killing it, it opens more doors. So it doesn't take away seats. Exactly. It creates more seats. Exactly. Because others that are decision makers see you killing it. And people who have biases, you're able to alleviate or remove those biases to where now it opens up more space and more room. So people definitely should celebrate when they see people who look like them or represent their community in some kind of way winning.
And always just having, when you have someone who looks different from you, there's naturally more diversity of thought. And I think when you have diversity of thoughts and opinions and how to, solve different issues, that helps the greater good, that helps solve more problems out there. And I want to continue breaking into those spaces and having others follow with me. And again, tech sales, especially to people, I have a couple of people from, like, in college age level, or just like young adults in high school, telling me, like, hey, like, how, I've never heard about tech sales, like, I want to learn more. And I'm like, yeah, you need to start talking more to, like, I want to talk more to those young people and say, like, hey, this is a great career option that you don't need a college degree for it at all. And that's why, and again, even though I do have a traditional college degree, now I talk about that perspective, because then I realize, like, it shows me even more how it's not needed. I'm very grateful for my degree. I think engineering taught me a lot, but at the same time, there's a lot of those barriers to entry have been removed.
You went to school for engineering.
Yeah, for engineering. So some people can say,
I should have had questions about that.
Yeah, so some people can say, like, oh, well, you have, you went to a great school, you have this degree that seems to be perfect for what you do. But to be honest, everything I've learned on the job, and it had nothing to do with from my degree. I stumbled upon my job on myself. They titled, I remember my company, they didn't title it as an SDR, they titled it as a technical solutions specialist. So I was like, oh, that sounds like product management. Cool, I'll do that. Like, that works well. And it wasn't until I think like the third interview that the person was like, hey, this is sales. I'm like, what? What is sales? So, but again, I learned Again, once I got the job, I learned so much. I'm like, wow, this needs to be exposed to more people. And I had a coworker of mine actually at the time when I was doing the training program. She actually didn't have her degree at all. And what I've learned is that as well, along with the boot camps and like programs to help you, maybe learn how to code or data and analytics abilities, a lot of companies now are seeing like, hey, we don't need people with certain college degrees. Yeah. We just want hardworking people who want to put in the work. And we are going to have these, what they're called apprenticeships, where essentially we will train you for the job. You'll get paid as a full-time employee, and then we'll hire you or we'll bring you into, one of our teams after that training. Yeah. And so my coworker at the time, I saw she was going through their apprenticeship doing the exact same thing as me, and I was like, wow, that's so awesome that more companies are starting to see that, and cool. and making, again, lower barrier to entries for that.
That's dope. I'm so here for it. Man, wow, definitely got to talk to you more in the future about just, you went to school for engineering, and look at you in tech sales, probably making more money than you'd be making if you had went into that. But we do have to wrap up. Mm-hmm. But I would love for you to share with everybody again all of the social channels where they can find you, and also just a message that you want to leave everyone with.
Yes. So, everyone, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok. I might add more social media platforms, but it's at FinTech Latina. So FIN, like finance, tech, TECH, and then Latina, because I'm a Latina. And again, my social media, I share my journey in tech sales and how I navigate my career as a young Latina professional working in the tech industry. I also talk a lot about salary negotiation tips, as well as my personal finance journey and my journey to financial independence. So follow me on those social media platforms to learn more. And any advice, I've mentioned this before, and I just want to reiterate it. The best piece of advice I can give is you don't get the opportunities you don't ask for. So remember, you are in charge of your own career. You can change things around. You may be in a certain position, but there's always a chance to change things, and you have to be in charge of doing that. So be confident and really keep working hard towards your goals, and you'll accomplish them. So
let's go. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in to this episode of Tech is the New Black. Had an amazing guest on. I hope y'all go ahead and follow her. Check out her stuff, her resources that she has there for y'all. Let us know in the comments how y'all felt about this episode. We're trying to get better. We want to be better for you all because we're trying to tailor this platform to help more people, to help you. That being said, if you did enjoy this episode, make sure you do all of the stuff that I'm going to tell you to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit any bells, all that stuff. Follow everything to feed the almighty algorithm. So that way you can see more of this content. You can be further educated, but also going back to it being further exposed to help educate others so that everyone can get a seat at this table. We'll see y'all in the next episode.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.